Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDO44 here, coming at you with another video. Okay, I got a bunch of stuff written down here. Free agency talk. It's just stuff that's going on that we can discuss. Maybe a few things that I forgot to speak on, and some new stuff that I haven't spoken on in the last 24 hours. So, the first thing on the list is Conley is going to be staying with the Utah Jazz for $75 million on a 3-year deal. Quite a bit to pay for Mike Conley, but they seem to think that he's the guy for them, so more power to him. Uh, Given the fact that they have so many point guards out there, I'm assuming them signing Conley means he's their man. I mean, I think that kind of goes without saying, but what I'm saying to you is there's plenty of point guards out there that the Utah Jazz could have taken a look at. So for them to go after Mike Conley right away, clearly he was a part of their plans. Clearly there was no question about that. They didn't want to get involved with Kyle Lowry or Lonzo or any of those guys. They wanted their man, Mike Conley, and hey, good as any. As far as I'm concerned, Mike Conley's earned that type of respect in this league. I haven't seen him play his best as of late, but every year's anew, and when you have this type of talent, playing great as possible. You know what I mean? He's not a guy that's predicated on speed. He's not a guy that's predicated on athleticism. He's somebody who's very, very smart, picks you apart. So from season to season, how he's feeling, how his health determined is how well he's going to play. You know, it's not a whole lot he needs to succeed. So Mike Conley is a good investment in my opinion. So Kawhi Leonard's going to be opting out of his $36 million this year deal. Most people think he's going to re-sign with the Clippers, probably restructure a deal that pays him a little more, gives him more years, probably keeps him there for the remainder of his career. That's what I'm expecting. I hear that Dallas wants to get involved as well. I just don't see the Clippers letting Kawhi go right now. They've given up too much to acquire Paul George, subsequently himself, of course, as well. So, I mean, I'm of the mindset that the Clippers should tear it all down because I don't think they could win a championship like this. But they are amongst the contenders, of course, and being that a team that wasn't supposed to win a championship just won it, I could totally see the logic in keeping what they have going and trying to run it back and just going again for it. So, hey, man, when you've been bad for 100 years and you have a team that's a contender, maybe breaking it up doesn't make any sense to you. I get it. So that's what the Clippers are doing. Let's see. I don't know what this says, so I'm just going to keep it pushing. The Mavs are going to be taking a look at keeping Willie Cauley-Stein. So I guess he's going to be staying there. I don't know what the deal framework is. I didn't write that down. CP3 is going to be turning down his contract. And it looks like that's a $44 million contract that he is going to be opting out of, trying to get restructured. $44 million is a hell of a lot of money for a one-year deal, but CP3 believes he can get more, or he's ready to move on from Phoenix. I don't know where he would go, and I don't know how much money he's looking for. $44 million is crazy. It's crazy. $44 million is what Westbrook's getting right now. So I don't know what the hell CP3 is doing, to be honest with you. There was no way I'm opting out of a $44 million one-year deal. It's not 1 year deal, but you making $44 million for this coming season. What are you looking for? I don't really understand that. Maybe he's going to give them a pay cut. Maybe this is going to be a shock the world move and he takes a pay cut so they can work some things into their equation. Because that's what makes the most sense to me. Who the hell's opting out of a $44 million contract? No one. That's exactly how much money you want to make if you're a super duper star. Are you trying to go up to 50? No. In this case, it seems to me that they're trying to restructure it so that they can fit some more people into the cap. As to which you probably take less. So I don't know the framework of the deal, judging it by the fact of his age and the circumstances that they're in, and the fact that he's opting out. I don't get it. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I don't get it. I'm not gonna pretend I understand this. I don't understand it. The only thing that makes sense is that they're restructuring the deal, because the market for him to make more than $44 million this upcoming season, I don't think exists, to be completely honest with you. So unless I got the numbers on this wrong, and he's looking for 44 and wasn't making 44 before, I really don't understand what's going on here. So that's what I have to say about the CP3 situation. Speaking of that same team, Cameron Payne is also a free agent, which is why I'm thinking maybe they're restructuring for a better deal, so that they can fit Cam Payne in at his price. Because if he wants to prolong his career, CP3, if he wants to prolong his career with the Phoenix Suns and give them any opportunity of being as good as they were, campaign is going to be a big part of that. Having him there is massive in regards to keeping their team playing at a pace that's good for the young players that they have, and keeping it so that they have insurance for him to win games if for some reason his health doesn't hold up. His responsibility as the leader of that franchise, in my opinion, is to assure that that's a possibility, not just to assure that his situation is straight on his end, but to also make sure that the organization is able to continue to stay good. That's kind of his responsibility as well as the GM's, to be honest with you. Given his status in the league, given their status as a team, and given his role on that team right now. Maybe that's just my opinion, but that's what I feel like. He should be trying to help them get better, not try to help them get worse by taking on more money than their franchise can handle. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that. I'm gonna keep a very close eye on that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Hornets qualifying offer to Graham. Yes, the Hornets made a qualifying offer to Graham. Now I think that makes him a restricted free agent, which means that he would be able to sign an offer sheet as to which the Hornets would either be able to decline or match it. Devontae Graham is definitely a player I'd like to see get a bigger role in this league. I look at him as a guy who can score the ball from behind the arc really, really easily, who can kind of do a lot of good things with the ball in his hands. Not a defensive presence, but definitely a way above average bench weapon scoring the ball, way above average. His defensive limitations and his score first style makes it so that he's very difficult to see starting in this league. But given the fact that he plays for the Charlotte Hornets, you don't have to worry about him starting at the point guard position. LaMelo got that locked up for the next 15, 20 years. So that's a good place for him to be if they can do something about Scary Terry. I understand that they just drafted Bookright as well. I would prefer Bookright being a bigger role, but going into this particular season, you don't need him to have a starting role or even ask him to be a sixth man on your team. You just want him to be a weapon that can develop within this structure of young players. So Devontae Graham being picked up for another year possibly is a good thing for the Hornets. It keeps them strong, keeps them deep. It keeps less pressure on Bookright, and it keeps less pressure on them to keep Scary Terry, of whom they should be trading. I don't know if they're looking to trade Scary Terry, because Scary Terry is a hell of a clutch performer, and somebody you definitely can see putting up big numbers in any system, really. But they just have an oversaturation of guards right now, and those guards are a little too productive for the roles that they're in. So I expect them to make some more moves. But Graham isn't the guy they're looking to get rid of necessarily. They qualified him. So moving on from there, Malik Monk, same team. This is important. This is extremely important because he, a pure shooter and young shooting weapon, is now going to be unrestricted free agent. They did not extend a qualifying offer to Malik Monk for the first time in his career. He is going to be playing for a very brand new franchise, and let me tell you something. He is not going to have a shortage of suitors. For those of us like me who are Laker fans who think, oh, Malik Monk's free, he's going to take the qualifying offer to come to the Lakers. Wrong. Shooting is at a premium. And when you have a player who can shoot the ball like Malik Monk, even though he hasn't proven a whole lot in this league, last year he had a breakout season, and all you really need to see in that season was that he can hit some open shots. When you got a player like that, there's going to be a team like OKC, team like the Pelicans, team like Chicago, team like who knows, who is going to see that kid, Golden State, who's going to see that kid and say, you know what, he fits right in with what we do. We want another shooter. Let's go give him some money to make sure he's here. Could Malik Monk sign with the Lakers for mid-level exception or what, $5 million, $2 million? Yes, and some would argue he's not even worth $5 million right now. Some would argue that because he hasn't developed enough in this league to show us that he's really a rotation piece. However, because he can shoot and because we have a nice sample size of what he did in college about 5 years ago, however long it's been, I think a guy like that can make some money. I think a guy like that on a free agent market, you look at him and you say, man, he's been playing for the Hornets. This dude ain't had a good opportunity. When they finally got a point guard, he started showing what he could do. So there's a lot of places he can go that will give him a better opportunity than he's had with the Hornets, better coaching than he's had with the Hornets, and ultimately give him a role that he can really, really use. I expect Malik Monk to be somebody that gets a team really quickly. He's going to find a team fast. So keep an eye on Malik Monk. I hope I'm wrong. Hell, we need him. He's young and he shoots. If there's a priority for myself, it's find young shooters, not old ones. With respect to the guys that we're looking at, I would turn my attention to younger players on that free agency pool rather than just all these old guys that just want to ring chase. Ring chases is not going to stop 23-year-old, 6'10" small forwards that ball handle. When you run into one of those guys and we ain't got nothing but Rudy Gay and Duds or whoever, Carmelo Anthony looking at them, we're going to wish to God we had somebody young who could defend somebody, who could move a little bit. I'm just saying. I'm not saying Malik Monk's that, but look on the waiver wire. There are some guys that are a bit younger than the guys that we're targeting who are not going to be costing too much money. A guy like Furkan Korkmaz, that's definitely a player the Lakers should be picking up right away. They're looking at guys that are older, and that's cool. But we have all the age that we need. We need youth, and we need a guy with some upside. We need somebody who's expected to hit 10 points, but capable of going for 50. And that's why I want us to take a look at a guy like Furkan Korkmaz and Malik Monk. Get on the youngsters. I know we're not going to do that. I'm wasting my time. But that would be the way I'd go. Okay, so moving on from there. Collins from the Blazers is now a free agent. That's a guy who's had a lot of injury issues, a lottery pick from like 5-6 years ago. Probably the same draft as Malik Monk. He came in. He was drafted before the other Collins dude in Atlanta who just made, $120 million, I think is what they're going to give him. He was drafted several spots before him, and he just hasn't really had a chance to be as healthy as he'd like to be to show what it is that he brings to the table. He seems to be a hard-nosed, scrappy guy who's a physical player, defensive-minded, tall center. I think he can shoot a little bit, but I've never seen him hit a three, to be honest with you. I think they said he could shoot when he was coming out of the draft combine them years ago. But the point is Collins has just been buried on the Blazer bench with just injuries every year. Injury. Literally, since he was a rookie. He's just never got a chance to really show what he can do. And when he did get a chance to show what he can do, he was pretty productive. He was pretty solid, but just literally just never got a chance to show what he can do. So the market for a guy like that is going to be tricky, in my opinion. But you're banking on upside. Again, you're banking on the fact that if this guy can just string together some good seasons, or rather string together a good summer to get himself in shape, then maybe he can step in and finally become the player, start his trajectory, for becoming the player that you hope he can become. I don't know what the market looks like for Collins, and I'm not really sure where the fit would be great, but I will tell you this. He's another guy the Lakers should be looking at as a center. Young. Not going to cost a lot because he hasn't proven a whole lot. But lottery talent. Malik Monks, Collins, those are the guys I would love for my team to go after just so that we can have some youth down there. So that's another guy I want the Lakers to take a look at. Iguodala is now a free agent. The Miami Heat are not going to be bringing him back. That's a guy that's obviously going to be linked to the Lakers. Even though I haven't heard his name yet, being linked to the Lakers, he will be. I'm cool. Honestly, I like Iggy a lot, but he's older now, much older than I think we should be bringing to a player, bringing him to this roster. I don't think the Lakers should be bringing him to this roster because he's too old, straight up. We have other guys that we're looking at who are also old, but he's older than them. And so I like Iggy, but I just don't think he has a whole lot left in the tank. He's rumored to be possibly looking at the Golden State Warriors, but I'm here to tell you I'm pretty sure the Lakers are going to be looking at him too. Goran Dragic signed a qualifying offer with the Heat. I think it's qualifying. They're expecting to bring him back. I'm not sure if he's necessarily a qualifying offer or if they just outright signed him. But I think it's qualifying offer. I believe he will be open to be restricted. So he can sign an offer sheet with someone, I believe. He's one of the many point guards that are out there. So I expect the Miami Heat to possibly match, depending on what happens with the other point guards, the trade prospects that they have out there. I just got a feeling they're probably going to bring him back. So we'll see if that's an official signing or just a restricted situation. Markkanen is also a qualifying guy with the Bulls. This is a player who has a love-hate relationship there with the Bulls fans. The fans have a love-hate relationship with him, rather. Most of them still believe he can be a fantastic Dirk Nowitzki light type of shooter, but he's so poor on the defensive end, and has had so many injury issues to where I think a lot of people in Chicago are just like, all right, bro, what can we get for this guy? He's sort of like a Kyle Kuzma for the Lakers. It's like, all right, we can get this for many years with this guy. It ain't happening. So what can we do to get better? And it just seems like the Chicago Bulls are saying, no, let's run it back with him. We think he's a shooter, a stretch 4, stretch 5 guy. And we still want to see what he looks like with a real point guard down there. So my understanding is that Lonzo Ball and the Chicago Bulls are coming very, very close to him signing an agreement for 4 years, $80 million of a qualifying offer, restricted signing offer, as to which the New Orleans Pelicans could match it, but are expected not to. So in bringing in Lonzo Ball, that would be the point guard that I think they want to see if Markkanen can play with, because Markkanen's never had one. So that would be very good for Markkanen, in my opinion. You would get the most out of him with a point guard like that on the floor. So stay tuned. We'll see what happens with Markkanen there. Robinson is going to be staying with the New York Knicks. Shot blocking presence, one of the best shot blockers in all of basketball, one of the best field goal percentage shooters in the world, if not the best field goal percentage shooter in the world. He just doesn't miss anything because he always dunks everything. So this is a very, very smart basketball player, defensive anchor, someone who's going to have his trajectory go higher as time goes by. His value is increasing in this league so long as he stays healthy. He had a broken leg that set him out for the second half or middle of the season last year. But you don't think twice about bringing him back. He's one of the most important pieces on the New York Knicks, and if he goes anywhere else, he'll be one of the most important pieces there as well. He's just simply a can't-miss prospect because of his length, because of his ability to rebound, because of his ability to dunk the ball like crazy, and, of course, block shots, which he is one of the best at. So that's not a surprise, seeing as what his role is with the Knicks. There was no way in hell they weren't bringing him back, quite honestly. So, and here's a trade that I just keep forgetting to bring to you guys. This has been done since the Westbrook trade was announced, but I just forgot about this one. Derek Favors is going to be headed to the Oklahoma City Thunder for a second-round pick. So, New Orleans gets out from underneath his contract as well. That's basically what I'm here to tell y'all. Not really a big deal, but just shows what New Orleans is trying to do in terms of creating cap space for the Kyle Lowrys, for Lonzo if they decide to match him for whatever it is that they're trying to do. So seems like to me the New Orleans Hornets are headed in the right directions. New Orleans Pelicans, excuse me. They're headed in the right direction in terms of trying to rectify the spacing issues that they had last year, rectify the coaching issue that they had last year, and ultimately just bringing some more talent down there by way of creating space. So they're going to be a curious team to pay attention to. They have a very, very serious GM in David Griffin, and I expect some moves to be made to make the Hornets better. A guy like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I expect to take on a much bigger role on this team this year. I think Josh Hart is a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. I expect them to let him go, and we'll see where he lands. But I just see what the New Orleans Hornets are doing. They're trying to get that log jam spacing issue out of the way. And they've done a good job of that. They got some non-shooters off their team. They got some bad contracts off their team. And looks like they're heading in the right direction. So, and there's 2 more things to mention. Nothing too serious. 3 more things, actually. Derrick Rose is a free agent, of course. His best suitor right now is the Chicago Bulls as well. So maybe they'll be getting 2 point guards. I'm not glossing over that. That's Derrick Rose returning to Chicago, y'all. That ain't nothing to gloss over. So Derrick Rose may be returning to Chicago. That should give everybody butterflies in their stomach. That is something that grown men would cry tears of joy if this takes place. I assure you. The thing about Derrick Rose going to Chicago is not a winning team. And Derrick Rose is not a championship player. I want to see him go get one. I want to see him on the Lakers. I want to see him on the Nets. I want to see him on the Bucks. I want to see him where he can win. But if I can't see him where he can win, he definitely needs to go back to the crib. So that's what I got to say about that. Derrick Rose going back to Chicago is all will be right with the world. That's literally how I feel about that. TJ McConnell is a free agent, yet another point guard who's going to demand some money. TJ McConnell had somewhat of a breakout, but I wouldn't call it a breakout because he always does this. Anytime you see him get some real minutes, he puts up some real points, real assists, real defensive numbers, real everything. TJ McConnell is an underrated point guard stuck in some situations in his career that he otherwise has to fight his way through. Nothing comes easy to a guy like TJ McConnell because of the roles that he's found himself in this league. TJ McConnell, if I'm not mistaken, was at the Philadelphia 76ers, playing behind Ben Simmons and a bunch of other guys. Would play like once every 3 games, and when he did, killed it, destroyed it, did everything he needed to do, played with a motor that is unmatched by players his size. He just goes at you defensively, he throws his body at it, and he's a very, very productive player that I think is going to help any team that he's on because of his willingness to play any role. He's just somebody you definitely don't want to take for granted. Now, I don't know what the Pacers have in mind because they got a lot of stuff going on there with their roster. But they freed up some space with Aaron Holiday going to Washington. They picked up some players in the draft that I know that they liked. They did a good thing in the draft. I don't remember what it was, but they moved in the draft in a positive way. And what they also have going on is a bunch of point guard question marks. Brogdon is a guy that I think, if I'm not mistaken, is a restricted free agent or something like that. He's going to have suitors. I hear people were thinking about trading for him. So if he's not a restricted free agent, he has suitors. So that situation coupled with McConnell's situation, coupled with Aaron Holiday getting up out of there. And I'd say the Pacers are kind of in flux in regards to their point guard position and guard position. So I'm looking at the Pacers and I'm just saying, I know that they were talking about possibly bringing in Cam Reddish. They have a lot of stuff that the Pacers can do, but they're kind of in no man's land in terms of where their team is in things. They're not in a position to win a championship or make a conference final, but they don't suck at all, so they'll probably make the playoffs. Kind of where the Minnesota Timberwolves was when Kevin Garnett was the star, just completely in no man's land. You can't really get better. You're not necessarily getting worse. So I like the Pacers, but I just want to see them take a step in a different direction. As far as just trying to get a little more talent down there as best they can, But they have a good team. Don't get it twisted. They got some guys, obviously spearheaded by Sabonis and Turner and my guy Caris LeVert. Those are the 3 players that they have down there that they really, really pay attention to. Obviously, Malcolm Brogdon is in that as well, and it really just comes down to that not necessarily being enough. Not necessarily. They need something. They need something down there that they don't have. Maybe one more something. I don't know what it is that the Pacers need. Maybe a star shooting guard or something. I don't know. But they need something that they do not have to make them a much better team. So I'm keeping an eye on them to see if they're able to do anything at all, to be honest with you. So they're in the worst spot in terms of just being in the Eastern Conference and in a spot that a team like them could just be forgotten about. So, yeah, I don't know. I just want to see them make some type of splash that they haven't made. So, also, Kendrick Nunn is going to be a restricted free agent. No qualifying offer has been made to him as of yet. We're just kind of waiting there to see what Miami does. They never really had the role for this guy. They never had the role for him. Kendrick Nunn is a guy who should be getting more minutes than he gets. Anytime you give him big minutes, he gives you big production. He's just stuck behind some really, really talented guys in Miami. And as a collective, they make a very, very talented shooting group. Unfortunately, though, the roles that they have for each of these players are a little less than they should be. And I can see any one of those guys in Miami, any one of those young players going somewhere else, like say down the way to Orlando, having a bigger role and stepping all the way out. Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, all those guys could play bigger roles. So I don't think anybody cares. Everybody loves being in Miami. Miami's a team that was just in the finals a year ago. So it's not like anybody's upset, but it just seems to me that they have a log jam at the guard position. Most of their most important players are all guards, with the exception, of course, of Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler. The rest of their guys are guards. So I'd like to see them also try to condense some of that roster to make it make more sense. Another guy on that roster to pay attention to is Trevor Ariza. He's also been linked with the Lakers. He's been around for so many years, man. I don't know. He's one of those guys that, I would have loved to have him about 6 years ago. But right now, I just don't know what he's going to give me. And if I give him a big role, I don't think he's going to be able to do a whole lot with it. So while I've always wanted Trevor to come back to my team, as a Laker fan, I just think that we're in a space right now with the role that we're going to give him. He ain't going to do no damage. We're going to throw him in front of Giannis. We're going to throw him in front of B.I. This stage in his career, he's not going to give us that. He ain't going to give us what we need there. So that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. When you talk about savvy vets, hey, anything can happen. But I'm just not in the business of trying to reach back in the past for role players when I know most of our core is about my age, basically. They're old. So no, we don't need to be doing too much in the old man department. So that's what I got to say, man. That's everything on the list. I got it all out. I want to thank you guys for watching this long video. And, we're just going to pay attention. A lot of stuff that I said here was inconclusive. We just don't know what's going to happen next. But the framework for things to happen on the 6th is in place. A lot more stuff is going to happen. And I will bring it to you as it comes my way. So thank you guys for watching BDL 44. I'm out.